Technical. Okay. Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order, but before I go too much further, a couple of announcements. One is Trustee Rupi Kandarajwan, that's the RR on the screen that you see against this wall. I'm not sure if it is anywhere else. Will be joining us online. She just left, but she's joining. Well, she drives, actually, safely. I want to be clear about that. Trustee White is unwell this evening and will not be in attendance. And Trustee Neufeld is officially on an unpaid leave between February 25th to April 23rd, at which point he will return. So we are currently operating as a board of 6 until such time, which will be the way it will be in at the April meeting. So thank you for that. So at this point, I'd like to acknowledge that the Abbotsford School District is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Samath First Nation and Mathqui First Nation. And with this, we respect the long-standing relationships that Indigenous nations have to this land, as they are the original caretakers. We have some young voices here today, and we love that. We hope you sing and sing loud. But if everybody could stand for the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and maiden land, true patron love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we sing and rise, the true north strong and free. From
Thank you, everyone. Now, I have to join the meeting. Thank you. At this time, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Trustee Rowe?
Yeah, I thought we had added it already, but...
No, you need to actually formally state that.
Okay, yeah, just adding a notice of motion to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. There's a notice of motion regarding Trustee Code of Ethics, Appendix 1.
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's just a formality.
Yeah, Policy 6, Appendix 1. Yeah.
Policy 6. Okay, thank you. With that addition,
Move to approve, Peterson.
Peterson and seconded by Rye. Why am I not in the right meeting? Your voting buttons will be up here in a moment. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Trustee Kandarajwan from afar. We do electronic voting, and you can see it on the screen. Thank you. So now we move into the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve the public meeting.
Trustee Rye, seconded by
Peterson.
Trustee Peterson. Thank you. We'll have voting buttons in just a moment. I have promised these young men that they will actually be able to return to practice shortly. So I'm just trying to make our way through this. Consent items, please.
Move to approve the consent items.
Trustee Rye.
This time I
seconded-
remember to switch this on.
Okay. You have a question?
No,
Oh, no.
to switch it on.
Okay. Seconded by
Peterson.
Peterson. Voting buttons, please. Thank you, Secretary Belisek. So now we move over into delegations, presentations, and acknowledgements. But before I turn it over to the superintendent, I made kind of a unilateral decision along with our senior staff that we need to celebrate the people who work in our district. We have students who come and they join us, and we're very appreciative of that, and we have 3 delegations this evening. But I did want to, first of all, note a couple things, and this isn't a teacher, but grade 5's Indigenous students have a couple weeks ago walked through something called Voice of the Drum with Darren Charlie. And this is really important for our students as they transition from grade 5 into grade 6 in middle school. It's part of their transition in space. And this is a very honoring project for them to do and to have Darren Charlie work with them. Also, I'd like to do a shout out to University of the Fraser Valley. We have applied business technology practicum students gaining experience in our elementary schools, and we're quite honored to have them join us. Finally, we have staff going into spring break, and they will be taking a peaceful, restful time, perhaps with family, perhaps traveling, as will students and families. But I did want to just particularly state to our staff, you are appreciated, and we hope that you enjoy and revitalize over this time. Thank you. So with that, I turn this to Superintendent Nosek.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I apologize in advance. I seem to have developed a little rasp in my voice, so I'll keep my words short, but very, very excited to have some Hawks with us tonight. For the 2nd year in a row, we are provincial champions in wrestling. Some coaches, Jim Mitchell, spend entire careers chasing a provincial championship and never get there, or get one and hope for more. But to have Coach Mitchell and Principal Rob Sloboda here to celebrate this success and to introduce their extraordinary wrestlers is a special, I think, opportunity for us. So thank you for making some time. I'm going to invite Principal Sloboda and Coach Mitchell to come on up and introduce your team, and we'd love to hear a little bit about what led to this great success.
Right. Okay, yeah, you know what, I was here 1 year ago, I think it was April or May, when Mowat was here. I was here on behalf of Yale, but I was looking at the size of these people, and they were impressive, and I'm just happy to be part of that group now this year, so thank you for that. I do want to recognize Coach Mitchell, everything that he's done for wrestling. He gives me that look because he's not the type of guy who wants gratitude. He just does what's best for kids, but that's the type of person he is. And I'm grateful for what you've done for wrestling for Mowat, as well as what you've done for bringing wrestling to other Abbotsford high schools as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim, who's going to introduce the team.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, so thanks for the invitation tonight to acknowledge our accomplishments. I'll introduce the people that came. Some of them are not here tonight, but we'll get into that later. Tajveer Dinza, he is one of our, he's a grad, he's now at SFU, and he was coaching. Gershan Talan, he was a bronze medalist. Nathaniel Rogers, one of our 2 females that we had on their team this year. Roop Guman, 5th, right? At the provincials, right? 5th. Diljog Sadhu, he was 6th. Chandveer didn't place. Gravir, you didn't place. Jordan placed 6th. Dimitab, he didn't place as well. So that's the guys that are here tonight. We're missing, our big people are not here tonight. We got 2 kids down in Oregon State right now doing recruitment training down there. And we have another fellow that's off to India. So we're more than just BC champs. I'm just reading my script here. We're more than BC champs. I'm retired. I retired in 2017, and I'm at Mowat now. I guess I'm the athletic director, so I keep the wrestling going. I provide opportunities for kids to come and experience and try wrestling out and whatever. And we practice 2 to 4 times a week. Kids come from all schools in the district, and they can train with us doesn't matter where they're from. We have some new programs happening as a result of that over the last few years. Yale has bought a mat, and they're using wrestling to build their rugby program. They had, actually the girls won Yale girls won the zone title this year. That's one thing that's happening. We got at Abbey Senior, we have Ryan McWhinney. He's taken on wrestling, and same reason, kind of get rugby going. So that's reignited there. At Abbey Middle, we have Travis Neal, who's really enthusiastic about what wrestling does for kids, and he's running wrestling there. We have a fellow, Lucky Dollywell. He's a parent, but basically he's running wrestling at Abbey Traditional School. So they're the main parts. I guess the other one I failed to mention was the Talan brothers, Gervier and Rajveer. They train out of Mowat, and they train kids from multiple schools, but they're helping our program, and they've got some wrestling going on at Rick Hansen. That's their main, in addition to the kids from Mowat and wherever. They also, Talan's go around from school to school, and they provide a PE wrestling unit for kids and some physical literacy stuff. So they've been in 4 or 5 schools this year. Last week they were at Rick Hansen. So trying to grow the sport. And I'd like to thank all those people that have contributed. Starting at Yale, we have Brian Bell, who's a teacher, and Scott Hunter, teacher. Doug Primrose, he's the fellow that bought the new wrestling mat at Yale. Moving on, I mentioned McWhinney, McDay, Travis Neal, Lucky. So all those people, I'd like to thank them for helping us out, because our success is basically, as we grow, we need people, we need partners. Here's where I say my candid statement that wrestling is the most inclusive, diverse, and equitable sport. It's world renowned. I've traveled around the world refereeing, whatever, and it's just in every culture you can imagine. Lastly, I'd like to thank school district for the opportunity to provide these experiences for kids and have the facilities and help us with mats and that sort of thing. Mr. Sabota, thanks for your help and your amazing office staff, which make it easy. I'm thinking of Port Alberni right now. I heard Port Alberni mentioned earlier. We went to Port Alberni, and this group this year won the Port Alberni tournament. So that's one of the titles we won as well. So basically, we've won 4 banners in the last 3 years, and we just missed one the year before that. Last year we won by 3 points over Tamanawis. So this year we won. I don't know who was second, but we were 50 points ahead this year. So next year it's not going to be so easy. So we had 5 people in the finals, and I'm just going to go quickly through them. First guy was Nathan Thiel. He's not here tonight. He's a outstanding judo person here in the city here. He won his final match. He was down at halftime. The match was nominated as the most outstanding match of the whole tournament for men, and he ended up coming from behind, and he had the other guy on his back when the match was over. So he did a great job. A second final was Michael G. Graywall, untouched. He just walked through the whole thing, and he was nominated for the outstanding wrestler of the whole tournament. He was selected for that. And that's 2 years in a row that he's won the championship, and I think he got another medal in a previous year. Third person would be Jagrup Dinza. He's our heavyweight. He's won 3 gold now and 1 silver. He wrestled Manraj not here tonight, Manraj Randhawa. We had 2 Mowat kids in the final in that one. Yeah. So where I'm going, next up is Manjot Dhaliwal. He is in India right now. He plays second in a back and forth match, which he could have maybe should have won, but he got the silver medal, and he's only in grade 10. Gershon Callan here. He didn't make the finals, but he wrestled the champion and narrowly lost to him in a back and forth match again. So did a great job. Right now we have a lot of wrestlers these guys are going to training. They're training for the Canada Games trials, which are this weekend, and if they are successful, Canada Games will be in St. John's, Newfoundland in August. Next up for them would be Calgary. The national championships are in Calgary at the end of April, and we had 4 champions last year at that tournament, so they're going back to kind of continue. I think that's about all I have. These guys did a great job and they work hard, and we're very appreciative of their efforts. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah,
Roll the banner.
appropriately so.
Not that it's all about the banner, but here's the banner.
Yoo-hoo! Good job. It's all about the banner.
walls in your school.
Well, talk to this guy about that one.
We'll get a picture with the banner before we.
Yeah, so I'm,
Oh, questions, comments?
yeah, questions and comments, and then I will come up. I'm actually going to go in the photo with the banner.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Coach Mitchell, thank you so much for bringing these gentlemen and young lady to see it's girl power. I am going to ask the young men to come up to the microphone, please. Huddle around. Because we open up our microphones to the board trustees who are here today, perhaps one online, so that if they have any questions or comments, then they can address you directly. So, Trustee Rauch.
Thanks for that great presentation. I wrestled as well when I was, 30 years ago now, and went to Port Alberni, and that was such a great trip. And I think contact sports like wrestling or judo are really great, especially these days, like where, people are maybe less, huggy or, wanting to be in contact with one another in public. So I think it's just good to be able to be in close proximity with one another. Great that we got a girl on the team. That's awesome. I've got 4 girls, and I've had some of them go through judo, and they loved it at the little judo club here in Abbotsford. So yeah, kudos. And I just wanted to say good luck in April for the national championships, you guys.
Thank you. Trustee Peterson.
Thank you. I've had the pleasure for the last bazillion years, whatever that is, to be part of the provincial championships, a small part, announcing, and I saw every one of these matches, and it just feels so good. Yeah, I think I have to, as an announcer, be somewhat unbiased, but I got that. I don't know if I held that as I saw you guys wrestle. So it was great to see it. I always ask your coach, what do you think? How are you doing? And then we look at saw how many of you were in the finals. We knew it was wrapped up pretty early. So I congratulate you. A great sport, a great result. And I just want to add something about Mr. Mitchell. Not only are you a great coach, but you have to know that for the past, I don't know how many years, Mr. Mitchell, have you headed the provincials? It's changed a little bit now that BC Sports has got involved, but you were wrestling provincial champion organizer for so many years. So your commitment to the sport is exemplary, and look at the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Trustee Rye.
Thank you for coming out. Amazing stuff. So this is the second year in a row?
For this banner.
Oh yeah, crude. So, any of you, what was the best part of course the best part would be when you won it, but before that, when you were fighting or when you were wrestling or something, what was the best part? Any one or two of you can take it. Go for it. Come on, guys.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
That's why we brought you up.
Sorry?
Sean, you got something to say? No?
What about you, young girl?
Bronze.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, as I coached these fine young men, it was exciting. We were nervous, anxious, a lot of emotions in the building. But when we had those 5 finalists in the finals, we felt pretty good. It was relieving that we had taken the title for the second time in a row. We plan for a 3-peat, and hopefully we get it done.
Awesome.
You will.
Awesome.
You will.
Yeah, it's very nice. And anyone else that would like to answer that? No?
I didn't think we had it wrapped up. I think we did have it wrapped up before the final start, but I didn't think it was wrapped up because it's never over till it's over. But when we won that one we weren't supposed to win, Nathan's match, I knew it was done. Yeah, I was
cool.
excited.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
for.
just-
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Kandaraj, would you like, I don't see a hand, but do you have a question or comment?
Thank you, Chair Wilson. I just want to say congratulations to the students again. And I was there when I had heard the females had won for wrestling, and it's kind of fitting that it's right around International Women's Day that women are, moving up into different fields. So congrats.
Okay. So I actually am your trustee liaison, which is why I said that I would come up and join you for a photo with your coveted trophies and banner. So I will join you. There is supposed to be a little thank you gift for you, but we don't have it here today. It'll be provided to you later, but it's still for you. So I'm going to come join you. I'm really excited about this, not about the photo, but about this, about the wins and about where you're going and what you get to do more of and what you get to achieve. So congratulations on that. Thank you to Jim and Mr. Sloboda for the ongoing support at Mowat and being Hawks. My son was a Hawk, so I sort of have a little bit of a an affinity there. So you've got so much bright future ahead of you, and I'm really excited. But now I'm going to step around, and perhaps you'd like to ask someone to bring in the next. Will I do
Let's
this
do
photo?
the photo first.
Photo first?
And then we'll get them, yeah. So we'll huddle up right here and get a photo.
Okay.
And this is not a time to pin the chair here.
It'd be easiest if we go over here to take the photo. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on right up here, right into the...
Into the fold.
Come in the middle. And
I'm going to come because you might be taller than me. Come around.
Two rows, you want like front row, back row?
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to.
I wore all black, so I'll look a little slimmer.
All right. You need to snuggle a little closer. There we go. All right. Ready? Okay, I'll let you go first. All right. Ready? Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
As I said, I'm very excited for you. You are welcome to go to practice now. Off you go.
we're proud of you. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Well done. Yeah, congratulations. Thanks again, Jimmy. I really appreciate that.
We're just going to take a moment to wait for the next couple delegations to come in.
Thanks, parents.
Thank you. Thanks, parents. While we're waiting for them to come back in, I would just like to acknowledge that the Vice President of the ATU, Joanne Samuels, has joined us this evening. Welcome, Joanne.
This must be the famous Quibberick Elementary people.
Please take that down.
Wait, you want me to start?
It's fine. I've already turned it over to you.
Jim, do you want your trophy back?
Wonder if I can get my name on there quick.
I know. I'm just. Thank you.
Okay.
There will be a moment after the meeting where trustees may take a photo. Careful with that one, it's already had a broken arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had to be repaired.
Yeah.
I was looking at that weight category, 110 kilograms, and it was feeling pretty lightweight.
I hear that.
Hey, 110, wow.
Love watching those matches.
Strong, hey, yeah.
Okay, trustees, we'll keep rolling with the agenda. I am so excited to have a Cole Clearbrook Elementary join us this evening. In a moment, I'm going to ask Principal Erica Hopkins to come forward. I believe you're going to get a really cool update on a new program. They introduced a grade 5 Punjabi language class, and we're going to hear a little bit about how that's going. And so, Erica, if I can invite you up and introduce your team, over to you.
Good evening, board.
Thank you for having us. I am here to present and have our team present regarding Clearbrook's very first year having a grade 5 Punjabi language class. With me today is Mrs. Amardeep Bhullar, our grade 5 Punjabi teacher, who also teaches Punjabi at Harry Sayers. And then we have 5 fabulous grade 5 students tonight. We have Ariel, Kirit, Gurfate, and Sahaj, and they're going to be putting you to work very soon. Why we wanted to present tonight, as Sean alluded to, is while
Imagine being so good.
Thank you. While Punjabi language courses have been in our district for quite a while now, this is our very first year at Clearbrook. It's been a few years in the making with a lot of parent feedback and support, so very grateful that we were able to launch it this year. And one of the cool things about Clearbrook's program that I believe and understand is unique to Clearbrook, all of our grade 5 students take Core 5 French. So the entire cohort is taking French. In addition to taking French as a second language, we have 60% of our grade 5 students this year signed up for Punjabi as a third language. So we're doing English instruction, everyone's getting French immersion, and 60% are doing Punjabi, so we're really, really proud of that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Bhullar.
Hello, everyone. So for this term, we have been the kids have been learning about the days of the week, numbers in Punjabi, and colors and the alphabet, and we've been doing a lot of read aloud. But they're just going to focus on days of the week, numbers, and colors, and then we'll play a little bingo at the end. So I'll get Sahaj, do you want to come? So Sahaj is going to go over the days of the week, and if you guys can just repeat it after him when he's going to start off with Sunday, okay? So I'll hold it up so you guys can see what day he's referring to.
Okay, so Sunday's Atwar, Somvar, Mangalvar, Budhvar, Veervar, Shukrvar, Shanivar.
Thank you, Sahaj. And Gurfate is gonna go over the colors. So you guys can just see the colors, that will help. Okay, go ahead.
Red is Lal. Orange is Santri. Yellow is Pila. Green is Hara. Blue is Neela. Purple is Jamni. Brown is Pura. Black is Kala.
Awesome. And Ariel, she's gonna go over the numbers. So just numbers from 1 to 10.
Number 1 is Ek. Do. Ten. Char. Panch. Share. Sat. At. No. Das.
Okay, and last person, Gyut's gonna lead the bingo game. Yeah, come on. So you guys all gonna get to play with. Yeah. Thanks.
Trustee Rai, I think you have a bit of an advantage here.
Trustee Rai and Trustee Rupi Kandarajwan are excluded. Saying?
And while we're setting up, I think it's worth noting that for our students who are taking this class, not all of them are fluent Punjabi speakers naturally. Like Ariel here, this is her very first year learning Punjabi, and she is flying and exceeding in all areas, so it's really cool.
That's not fair, Trustee Rai.
No, I'm just telling you that Mrs. Rai's husband. Because she took over from her, right?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Number 1 is Chand.
So Chand.
Number 2 is Jahaj.
If you have to, how'd you put it on there?
Yeah, I don't have it.
Visual
Number 3
cues.
is Mashi.
Machi.
Does a rabbit count? No?
And number 4 is Santura.
How exciting.
Okay. You come this way, yeah, okay.
And then Manja. And then Palu.
I think I got a
It's a
full
bear.
card here.
Then it's a Khargosh. And then it's a truck.
I haven't got one.
And Bacha.
Oh,
Or is it the whole card?
It's a whole.
Oh, you need.
We'll play for the
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Is it row?
And then it's Chiri.
Depends on the time. Chidi.
And then a Topi. And then it's a Tara.
That must be really unlucky.
Oh, you're,
Nothing yet.
they're coming. They're coming.
It's Battak. Sur. Crayons.
So what is that?
Pizza. Kitab. Dud. Billy. Cora. Pencil. Gend. Katori. Angur. Fork. Bagel. Kursi. Dress. School. Car. Ga. Jutti.
Kameez.
Kameez. Gajra. Hathi. Mage. Bus. Knicker. चमचा किश्ती शेर
Oh, nice. Awesome. There's our prize for you too.
You got a prize for me.
You get some.
Earlier, it was so good.
You get to choose between candies.
Candy, oh no.
It's either orange candy, which is Santa
see.
candy, or mango.
Sean's your
Or,
favorite.
Jalapa.
Yeah, okay. I get one of those, yeah. I better not let my kids find out.
Anything else, Juan?
Yeah, share it with everybody. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That was great fun. I should say that I have never heard us so quiet.
Yes.
All right, while they gather their things up, if the other students could also come join at the microphone, in case we have questions or comments from the trustees. Hold on. Okay, trustees, are there questions, comments, feeling of loss? Trustee Peterson?
Thank you. It's interesting how many words in Punjabi are said the same in English. At least I recognize some of those words for sure. I read some research way back that people who understand more than just one language, it's very good for the development of the brain. And the fact that you're now working on 3 languages is incredible. So good for you.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Trustee Wright?
Thank you. Can I speak in Punjabi? Sure. ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੇ ਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਲਰਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਲਰਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੈਂਟੈਂਸਸ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਹਾਲੇ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਣਾ Okay, good. No, that was really amazing. The way you presented and the bingo game. Wow, that was good. I think we need to take these games every board meeting, or one of the games in some other languages as well. Oh, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for bringing them here, and thank you, of course.
Thank you, Trustee Rai. Anyone else? Trustee Roque?
I'm curious to know which dialect of Punjabi you guys are speaking. Like if there's I know there's sort of 2 main ones here in Abbotsford. Are there?
Sometimes there are certain words that, like butter is said 2 different ways.
Okay.
But when we come to words like that, I just tell them both.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we cover it. Like watermelon, yesterday we were focusing on that. There's like 3 different words in Punjabi for watermelon.
Yeah.
So
it's not really different like Cantonese and Mandarin would be in Chinese or okay.
No.
Yeah.
It's just depending on which part of Punjabi you're from, you have you say some words differently, but that's it.
So good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rai.
Yeah, can I just elaborate on that? Punjabi comes from Punjab. Punjab means 5 rivers. So there's 5 rivers that used to flow through Punjab. Some of them are now in Pakistan, but so there's 3 rivers that go actually through Punjab, and between these rivers are one is called Malwa, one is called Doaba, one is called Majha. Those places have a little bit of different languages. Like the dialects are the same, the wordings are the same, writing is the same, but certain words are different. So like for instance, for a brother in Malwa, which is 70% of the Punjabis in Abbotsford, they would call Baiji, right? And for Doaba, what would they call? Paji. And for Majha, they will call Pau, Pra or Pau. Haji. So that's the difference. But the wordings and everything else is the same.
Thank you, Trustee Rai, for the clarification. Trustee Kendra Rajwan?
Trustee Rai was saying, I believe there's over 200 dialects spoken in India. So that's a great खुशी रहेगी सीखने आई हैं तो फिर बोलूँगा से because सामने पता है about 98% families Punjabi speaking negative school village. So both to have this program in your school. So just saying that in English, congratulations, welcome to our school board office, and to have this program in your school is a big deal because over 98% I know is like in your school, and just a huge congratulations to have a language at your school, and I think Trustee Peterson also mentioned like you're speaking a language that actually increases your development. So it's so great to hear that it's happening in your school as a huge advocate language. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Kandarajwan. I just want to say thank you so much, Principal Hopkins, for bringing this to us. As Trustee Peterson referenced, 3 languages and brain development. Like, wow, like you're going to be running the world when you've graduated. Little known secret, I almost failed French 8. Like, it's just languages are not my thing. And I just can't do it very well or retain it. So I'm like, my hats off to you because it is tough, but you're young enough, not as old as I am, so that, gaining that knowledge, gaining those extra languages is really quite something. So good for you. Today, we do have your thank you for you, and I'd like to invite Trustee Peterson to join you, and there will be a photo as well.
Thank you so much. Can I shake your hand? What a great program. Oh, can I come back to school and learn Punjabi? I'd love to.
Monday afternoon.
Yes. Congratulations. Good for you. Hey, thanks. Thanks for being here. Thank you. All right. And I think we get to be in a picture. Where do you want us to be? How about we stand up? Over here. Come on over here. Yeah, we got to crunch together.
Do you want to
all right?
move down, Erica? Do you want to move down? Okay, we're going to need to crunch a little more.
All right.
I also have to say well done, and thank you to the parents, and thank you to the staff at Clearbrook. Very well done.
How do you say yay in Punjabi?
You can say balle. You can say balle.
Ballet? Ballet. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for your time.
If he's not going too far, he's going to be introducing the next.
My parents put me in German school when I was young, and I was like 5 years older than all the other kids, so they were in these little tiny nests, and it was on a Saturday. Oh, it was just awesome. You were like feral. Yeah, it was just like that. Yeah. We begged our parents not to keep us going there.
Hello, Principal Jackie Hall.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. Good. We're excited.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna kind of roll right into it. So we're really excited to have you here.
Yes.
I know you've brought students, maybe staff, and
some
you've got
parents.
and some parents. And I think you have a few kind of smaller kind of stories to share.
Yes.
And I won't say over to you, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. We're excited because I think this is the first time that Bakerview has presented since I've been there, so we're super thrilled. And it took us a little bit of time to narrow down what we wanted to share because we had so many things to share. For our presentation, just for anybody who's not familiar with Bakerview, in our humble elementary school building, we offer all sorts of programs for all sorts of students. We have full-day programs. We have programs for adult continuing education, full dogwoods and evergreen programs. We've got half-day programs for students who are more of an internalizer profile. We've got half-time programs for students who are a little bit more of an externalizer profile. We've got partial day programs, off-site campuses, programs for young parents, and continuing adult education. So under one umbrella, we service all sorts of students. And so today our presentation, we're going to have Haley and Sky present about our grade 9 program. Haley transitioned to Bakerview's grade 9 program straight from middle school, and Sky joined us after Christmas from her secondary school. And then Aaliyah is going to present on careers, and I'm going to share just a couple snippets from our student voice this year. So without further ado, I turn it over to Haley.
Now?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to step a little bit closer to the middle? Yep. Okay.
I started grade 9 at Bakerview in September. When I came to Bakerview, I thought that it was going to be a bad experience. I was scared when I first walked in and thought it was just going to be a repeat of all my other schools. I had my meeting with Lainey and Karen, and at first I was kind of anxious because I didn't really know what to expect. But after Karen and Lainey told me how much support I would have and all the fun stuff we'd be doing when I came here helped a lot. Bakerview has done more than just help me with my work. They've helped me quit vaping. I've completed much more work and assignments here than I ever have at any of my old schools. My classroom is small but not too big either, and it's much easier for me to concentrate with less kids in the class. And part of the reason why I'm able to focus more is because I have more support. If I need help, Karen or Lainey are right there ready to help. Because of this help and support I've been feeling more confident in doing my work alone now, and I am willing to try more often. I feel that my classroom is a safe space to make mistakes, and I know Karen and Lainey will be right there to help me fix it. So far, this has been the best school for me.
Yeah, and then Sky's next.
Hi, my name's Sky, and I'm talking about Bakerview. Bakerview is probably the best school I've gone to. It makes me feel safe and comfortable in teaching. The teachers try as hard as they can to make it good for everyone. Yes, there are going to be some problems, but it's how the teachers at Bakerview solve them and actually talk to you about your problems and give you solutions to them. They actually help us. At Bakerview, teachers care for us not just because they're getting paid, because they actually just care. It makes a huge difference. For my past school, no one cared, so I didn't, and I would skip every day until I got kicked out and put into Bakerview. I wasn't given respect at my old school, and the teachers wouldn't pay attention to anything we said. They would say that they were going to help, but they never did. They didn't respect my boundaries, but at Bakerview I feel much more safe and respected by kids. Kids feel more understood when the teachers come up and talk to you face to face instead of calling you over like a dog. It's the little things that go so far for kids and teenagers. Thank you for listening.
Neither of these students were plants. I did not prepare or plant any information in there. And so we've got Aaliyah up. Aaliyah's in grade 11 at Bakerview, and she's going to share her experiences with our career offerings.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah. I went to Robert Bateman for my grade 9 year and transferred over to Bakerview for my 10th year. I am now in grade 11. In the time that I've been here, I've accomplished a lot, and I've had so many opportunities to better my future, which I am so grateful for. One thing I appreciated most was the Lash course. It opened up so many new possibilities for me and allowed me to look into more options for my future. Lashes have been a passion of mine for years, and I'm so happy I was able to complete that. This opportunity would have never been presented to me if I still went to a mainstream school. Bakerview tailors my learning to my individual needs because staff are passionate in helping students succeed in life, and I'm so happy to be a part of that.
Now, I have to admit, Aaliyah was a plant. Our career eyelash course is generally only offered to grade 12 students, and as a grade 11 student, Aaliyah felt like she wanted an opportunity, and so put together a PowerPoint presentation that she presented to me in my office, and so I bribed her with presenting here in exchange for her great work. So, and then I did want to just speak very quickly to our student voice work this year. Dan and I were meeting with all of our students to talk and asking them some very specific questions, and these are just the highlights, I think. One of the questions we asked is, have you ever experienced racism at Bakerview? And over 90% of our kids said no. The respondents who did have responses to this had specific examples about overhearing things that were racist or homophobic, but nothing targeted. So we do have some work to do. But the fact that kids were saying that they haven't felt or experienced racism on site was something that we really wanted to highlight. One of the other questions is, have you ever felt unsafe on site? And over 90% of the respondents said no. The students who did have positive responses there were really indicated that they had had some interpersonal conflict, and then when they engaged an adult, that conflict was resolved, and then they felt safe. And overwhelming sort of citing what makes Bakerview different than mainstream schools' responses were staff, and then a close second was flexible schedules. So with that, we wanted to make sure we stayed within our time frame, so we thank the board for your continued support. We know that Bakerview has been very well supported over the years, and we appreciate that. And that's the end of our presentation.
So, thank you. I need students. I need you to come back. Just huddle around the mic. Thank you, Mrs. Hall. I do open the floor to trustees for questions, but I'm actually going to go to Trustee Kandaraj first this time.
Thank you, Joe. I've been to Bakerview as my first visit a couple years back, and it definitely has a homey feel in classrooms. And just to hear from the students, I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the courage to speak in front of adults, especially when you have setbacks and hurdles. It's not hard, it's not easy to talk about them, and that's a huge opportunity right there to just let us know how things are going and that things are going well. And I was kind of hoping that somebody would mention the chocolate bars that you guys get there, because I think that's a great way to build innovation and connection with your students in handing them chocolate bars. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Kandaraj. Table. Trustee Rout, Trustee Rai.
I've been to a couple of Christmases at Bakerview, and they've always been absolutely awesome. It's kind of the highlight. The first time I went there, I didn't think it would be, but like there's just something special about Bakerview, and you guys all know it. Haley, just wanted to say congrats on kicking vaping. Like that's amazing, and yeah, super proud of you. Keep it up. And Sky, you mentioned the sort of the care that the teachers show, and it shows, and I felt that same way when I was there, and I think that just matters so much, right? They're not there for a job. They're there because they care about you guys. Yeah, and Leah, the last thing, that's cool that you chased a dream and advocated for yourself and got into the program early despite the little bribe that had to be done there, you know? So yeah, well done, you guys. Thanks for your nice presentation.
Thank you. Trustee Rai.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Like Trustee Rout just said here, I've been to Bakerview a few times, and I always feel that it's a special school. So thank you for confirming it for us. And where do I get this? This is like really cool.
You can talk to Jackie about it, the merch.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's a green one too, there's an orange, there's a whole collection.
All right. Who do I have to bribe to get it?
No bribes, Trustee Rai. As our trustee liaison, I believe, we will have to.
Oh, no. Okay.
Wait a minute.
And every trustee supporting us along the way, and any senior management.
He's on the deadline.
And everyone who is supporting, and all of you guys, come on by.
She's all of a sudden got this big budget.
Thank you so much. No,
Thank you. Trustee Peterson? You're good? Okay.
Oh, I had one more.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
you go ahead.
The cookies that I saw in the picture there, who does that?
Those were handmade.
Okay.
So our food program, our students who attend full days take foods 10, 11, 12 as part of their credits. And then so once a week they cook for foods credits, and what they cook we serve for lunch. So 2 birds, 1 stone, and that was part of our the 11, 12 pod. So any day that you show up, there will be something delicious on.
Tell me when the cookies are there, I will show up. Thank you so
food.
much. Thanks.
So, thank you for sharing. I've been around a while, and when we made a decision to create Bakerview Center for Learning and move it from a very small site that you should be glad you're not at, it was a very conscientious decision with students just like yourselves in mind, setting you up for success. And that has been, you are our North Star. You are the reason we do the work that we do. And I want to say thank you for having the courage to come here, sharing what you shared under the guidance, of course, of Mrs. Hall. And with just such appreciation, because the stories that you tell motivate us to do more and better. So thank you for that. You're driving us, like you are the reason. So I appreciate that very deeply. And of course, thank you to whoever happens to be seated back there. And so parents, guardians, family, whoever your chosen family might be, your teachers, and of course, Mrs. Hall, and your trustee liaison is Trustee Rye. I have missed the Christmas dinners, I really have, but I understand. Painfully, I understand. Trustee Rye will come up and share.
Kandaraj just came on.
Yeah, she's on the screen now, but she's already had her comments. So, Trustee Rye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you, Trustee Kandaraj one.
We'll do a
Now, this is probably going to be the hardest part of this presentation, is wrangling us all for a photo, because I tried to get a selfie earlier and I got denied.
Where do you want us to go?
No, we're doing this.
Make it so.
In the
Why don't
corner
you do here?
there.
I'll get out of the way here.
Okay,
I'll get out of the way.
Yep, yep.
I'll go to the back. I'm
Yeah.
short.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to take a half a dozen just so you make sure that
Yes.
it's perfect, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Principal Hall, the students. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you all so much for coming out on this Tuesday evening. That actually, that, I can't remember the word I was going to use. Anyways, we will now move into the reports on education.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Wilson. And again, I apologize for my voice this evening. I'll try to be succinct, but I'm really happy to for my report this evening to share some more good news. And so, trustees, you will likely be familiar and recall that on an annual basis, the Abbotsford News publishes a little piece called Heroes in Education. That recently came out, and we were excited to see some of our very own folks in there. And I wanted to take a moment to celebrate these people and to reference them for you in case you missed. And so, Danielle Petrie, our ELL and Library Learning Commons teacher from École Centennial Park, described as the glue that holds everyone together. She's been at Centennial Park since 2017, and she was nominated because no matter who you are at Centennial Park, you can always count on Danielle to welcome you with a friendly smile, a hug, words of encouragement, a shoulder to cry on, and an objective and active ear. From Chief Dan George Middle, how neat that custodian Satvinder Gill was nominated because she's always friendly to all the students, goes above and beyond to make sure everyone feels comfortable, contributed food to help out with class parties, donated freezies, etc., etc. One of our EAs from Clareburn, Terry Ninkovic, or Ninkovich, depending. Terry's been working with young people in education for the past 47 years, several schools in the district, and as an EA for the last 15, and trying to adapt things so that all kids can be a part of what the class is doing. It's so neat to see when the lights come on, is a quote. And from Yale Secondary, Teresa Chan, knew she wanted to become a teacher since the age of 3, nominated by a colleague for being an exceptional and beloved teacher, demonstrating unwavering commitment to the well-being and success of her students, going above and beyond in every aspect of her role. So I thought I would share that good piece of news with you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I would like to express appreciation also to the Abbotsford News. This is not the first year that they have done this. I was actually going to use that as my first kind of let's celebrate people in our district, but I knew it was here, so I moved on to other things. But what's happening in our district. I just want to reiterate, you can tell that by what's happening, these nominations, these candidates, that we are doing tremendously good things within our schools. And we're really excited about that as a board, and we'd like to continue that work. So thank you, Superintendent Nosek.
Thank you. And for my next, just a very quick update, trustees. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna. If I could do a quick shout out to SJB too. I see them in the list here too, and we have a great relationship with our private schools that are around here too. Sometimes kids float back and forth. I know our kids have, and they love the public school system, and they love their experience at SJB as well. So shout out to them as well. It's all part of Abbotsford, so super cool. Thanks.
Trustees, I wanted to just confirm for you, I know you've heard mentioned about the ombudsperson's request from school districts to provide some data around student exclusions. And so I want to confirm that we're doing our best to provide for them by the timeline, the information. It's not a term we really use in education. In fact, we talk about inclusion, but we know there are instances where, for extraordinary reasons, a student may be suspended, for example, and so we're working to make sure that they get the information that they're looking for.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Nosek. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward.
Forward to the
There you go. Thank you. Operations Secretary Treasurer Velistak, please. Turn up my mic.
There we go. Turn on my mic.
For you to turn yours on.
Thank you. So tonight I want to walk through, the superintendent and I actually want to walk through the preliminary budget estimates for the 25-26 budget. As you know, the provincial budget was introduced last week, and we expect to get our ministry funding announcement is on Thursday morning this week. So we'll have some information about what our operating grant looks like for the coming school year. So the budget calendar is proceeding along to development of the preliminary estimates, and we've made enrollment projections. I'll get into that in a bit for next year, and we're still in the process of, in the next month or so, refining those projections as we work through the staffing process. And you can see the work, the major milestones in the budget development process for April. So we've often talked about our strategic planning cycle when it comes to the planning for an upcoming school year and the budget. And so we're in that preparation phase right now where we're looking at all the information we have, looking at forecasts of our budgets to the end of the year. And, we're going to receive the funding announcement very soon and then begin probably the biggest part of the work around budget is the staffing estimates for each of the schools with almost 90% of our expenditures going towards staffing. It obviously is the thing that consumes most of our time. So the board confirmed in December the guiding principles for budget development. I'm not going to go through them, but they're here, and again, we will provide information to the board on how we've maintained and met the guiding principles once we've completed the budget development. Just a little bit about the provincial budget that I thought I would share with the board to help build some context for our budget plan for the coming year. So the Ministry of Education's budget, I'm going to focus on the Ministry of Education, K-12, is just under $9 billion. And there are some increases in the budget, and I would say that there were a number of ministries in the provincial budget that didn't see increases. We were one that did have some increases passed along, so $117 million in the shared recovery mandate, and that's really to put the cost of living adjustments that we received last year into the ministry's budget, so that that money is there for the next 3 years of the mandate. There's an increase in the classroom enhancement fund of $112 million. And then just the other thing I want to highlight is a couple of items in the provincial budget that just to be aware of. So there's $4 billion in each of the next 3 years for contingencies. So those contingencies will obviously help the province withstand, any of the economic uncertainties that are being faced. They also are there to fund the any of the collective agreement negotiations that go on. So 1% of the public sector wage increase equals about $500 million. So just to put that in some context. And there's also $1.5 billion in the provincial, in the government's budget for expenditure management. So $300 million in year one, and this expenditure management means we're reducing spending by $1.5 billion over the 3-year budget term. So there's 300,000 in for the 25-26 year, and then 600,000 in each of the next 2 years, or 600 million, pardon me, in each of the next 2 years for expenditure management. Now, there's been no decision about where these expenditure reductions will come, and the ministries, individual ministries haven't been made aware of that, from my understanding at this point. So that remains to be seen yet on how spending will be reduced.
I'll tackle these next couple.
Okay.
Trustees, as you're well aware, we have an excellent framework by which we organize our budget and strategic plan. And so these 4 pillars I know are very, very familiar to you, and these continue to be things that we reference all the time in our work: progressive workforce, engaging opportunities, optimize resources, student success. I do want to take you back a little bit, and we spent some time, as you know, together doing some board planning work, and over that time we looked back upon our very fulsome multi-year strategic plan setting that we had done over the course of last school year, and of course have been introducing this year. And so we have, you have, if you will, identified these 5 priorities, which in our conversations, I understand, continue to be of interest for our board, and certainly align with our obligations with the Ministry of Education as well. And more specifically, our objectives under each of the 4 pillars. And so I wanted, in public setting here, to just make sure that we had a chance to collectively have another look. And I know that while this may look like bullets on a slide deck, you're very aware of the months of work and conversations and input that have gone into arriving at this place, which will continue to guide us into the future.
So just want to spend a little bit of time walking through some of the number details in regard to the budget. So first off, a couple of meetings ago, the board approved the amended operating budget for the current school year, and in that budget, it had a projected deficit of $1.68 million for the current year. That $1.68 million would be money that would eat into the board's accumulated surplus. And a reminder about accumulated surplus. I mean, this is the savings account that you have for when your roof goes in your house, or when your water heater goes, and money that you don't have to stop doing something else with when some unforeseen expenditure occurs. So the board's target of unrestricted surplus is between 2.4 and 7.3 million, and that's outlined in board or Administrative Procedure 524. And just want to specifically highlight the components of our accumulated surplus this year. So at the end of June of 2024, we had $8.7 million in accumulated surplus. 529,000 was restricted due to the constraints that were placed on the funds when we received them. So that is related to our indigenous targeted money. So that's money that can only be spent in that, and if it's not spent, it gets set aside for the next year. So that becomes a internally restricted amount. We also have an internally restricted amount set up for school budgets. We allow our schools to carry forward unspent allocations that they have in their budgets. So last year, our schools collectively had just under $1.2 million in unspent budget allocations. And just for some context, 5 or 6 years ago, that number was 2.5 million. So schools have done a really good job of reducing the amount of cash that they've had left over at year end. Internally restricted for future requirements is for things like technology, and we have a major technology refresh coming this year where all of our end user equipment will be replaced at the end of June. So there's pretty significant resources required for that. So that's another area of funds that the board sets money aside to help deal with those one-time costs. And then the unrestricted surplus, where that 1.68 million I was just talking about would come from, it comes from this area of $5.6 million. So we're still within the range, but we don't want to see that number dip too low. Just want to go through some comparisons, and I do this every year, and I'm going to say that I remind trustees not to look specifically at any of these items and seek detail, but rather just to have an idea of the trend that where we sit relative to other districts or what trends you might see. And so I just want to briefly go through the 4 main areas of where we spend, instruction, administration, operations and maintenance, and transportation, and give you a picture of where we stack up compared to other school districts. And then the far bar in this graph is the provincial summary of all school districts. So we spend more than the provincial average in instruction. And then you can see how we fare with the number of other districts relative to instructional spending. District admin, we're a little bit below the provincial summary. And I'll just highlight this one area. Usually we're one of the lower ones in terms of administration costs, but I just want to highlight that we're in the middle of or completing our ERP implementation, and that has resulted in our costs being a little bit higher in district admin. So we would expect to see those costs decrease when you see this graph next year when we look at the actual spending. So remember, and the other part is that these graphs are all based on audited statement information, so they're not based on budgets, they're based on the real spending of all of these other school districts. Okay, operations and maintenance. Again, this is an area when we spend a little bit less in places like operations and maintenance, and if I dig into this a little deeper and was to say, here's our utility costs that are reported under this category, we would be one of the lower ones again, but when we spend less in a category like this, it does allow us to spend more someplace else. So I just highlight that this is an area where we've always tried to be very efficient in terms of managing our resources so that we can allocate more dollars to frontline services. And student transportation. This is an unfunded area from the ministry, so it's an area that we have to really look at. And again, I think that in the coming year, we should be looking at some type of transportation review. We're spending more than the provincial average. Like I say, that money is money that comes out of the ministry funding that we get, and there's no targeted money for transportation. So with increasing inflation and the cost of operating our bus fleet, that becomes an ongoing concern, and we've just seen that number sort of steadily creep up. So I've just given you a picture here of the cumulative increases in all of the main objects of spending, so all the teacher salaries, principals, vice principals, education assistants, etc., down to employee benefits and supplies and services. And since 2019-20, this represents the increase each year, and it's cumulative, so the bars are going to get bigger each year based on the increase. And you can see that as you just look across there, they all look like they've increased a similar amount except for one category that stands out, and that's the category of substitute employee costs. And so across the province, over that 5-year time frame, substitute employee costs have risen 88%. And so that equals $136 million. And of all of the areas that are funded, all this salary classifications to the left, as the salaries increase, the ministry has funded those areas. Substitute employee costs are areas where they're not funded. So the boards have to find ways to absorb the costs that they see increasing in this area. So in our district, it kind of looks like this. Our increase hasn't been as dramatic as a number of other districts. You can see the first 4 bars in this graph represent the actual costs that we've had. We have a little bit higher estimate for the budget this year. We expect it to hit the $9 million mark, and it's kind of tracking that way right at the moment. But it is an area of concern, and I just think that it's as that bar grows, what we need to remember is some other bar needs to shrink. So it's an area that we're monitoring closely, and I know HR is looking at the data just to make sure that we're really clear on what message we're getting from looking at the costs that are increasing. So we always build our budget based on, we have the amended budget in this current year, but we always build it based on the most current information we have. So we're looking at some adjustments to that budget that are the actual revenues and expenditures that we anticipate. We're seeing some spending not as high in some areas that we had anticipated, whether it's in supplies and services or in some of the other salary accounts. But instead of having the $1.6 million budgeted deficit for the year, the forecast is looking closer to about $1 million surplus. So that's going to have the effect of increasing the board's accumulated surplus for at the end of the 24-25 year. And like I say, I was meeting with Deepak a week ago and talking about this accumulated surplus and what it was used for and what it looks like going into the budget planning cycle. You'll see in a minute why having some accumulated surplus is going to help us withstand some of the financial pressures that we see and not maybe have to react as quickly as other districts might have to in responding to some of the financial pressures that we have. So when the finance department starts building the budget, we obviously make a number of assumptions to start putting numbers on a page. The most important part of our budget estimate is our enrollment projections. So with enrollments driving about over 98% of all revenues, it's a pretty important number for us to have a really clear picture on whether it's going up or going down. We do see that a small increase, maybe 137 students is what we forecast at the moment. This still could change within the next 4 or 5 weeks. And so we'll refine that based on the most current information we have. We also expect that any staffing adjustments that are made when you look at the budget estimates that we have, we're only adjusting staff based on enrollment changes. So if we expect a 30-student enrollment increase, we probably are adding 1 teacher to the mix. Or a fraction of a teacher, depends. You can have 30 students. If there's 1 in every school, probably not needing to add staff. But in this case, we do make some estimates for what is the staffing requirement, and we're only adjusting staffing based on enrollment. We're not forecasting in our estimates any changes to programs or services of any material amount. And that we also expect that any staffing increases that relate to class size and composition will be fully funded by the province. So when we do our staffing estimates, I told you was so important, we also, in that process, we determine what the number of teachers we need that are Classroom Enhancement Fund teachers. So that's reported under Special Purpose Fund in your financial statements. So we always make an estimate of that, and if by chance that number goes up, our expectation is the province will fully fund the estimate for the CEF teachers that we have. And we're going to complete our ERP project by the end of this fiscal year, and like I say, you'll see those administrative costs start to trickle down as that implementation completes. One of the next steps we have is to look at budget pressures that face us in the coming year. So there's a number of and this is super high level, so we're still working on what these might look like. The first pressure we see is potentially a drop in international student revenue. So right now we're forecasting a drop of about 20% of our international student population, which will result in about a $1.5 million loss in revenue. We also are going to have to address some of our inflationary pressures. So when bus fuel increases, or the cost of tires for a school bus increases, we obviously are in a place where we have to cover those costs. When costs at a school increase for paper, we don't necessarily cover and provide schools with extra funding to fund their inflationary pressures. So seeing that the ministry funds us nothing for inflation, we do have to find some funding to deal with the inflationary pressures that exist, whether it's utilities or fuel or things like that. So there'll be some estimate put in for inflation. Teachers go through a pay scale, so as they increment through that pay scale, annually that costs us somewhere between $1.2 and $1.5 million. Again, those are not funded costs from the province. And I could get into how the ministry operating grant is calculated and how it sort of makes calculations to adjust for the differences in salaries between school districts. But the fact is the incremental cost to us from one year to the next as salaries increase is not something where we see a corresponding revenue line item to help pay for. We expect our substitute employee costs to continue to increase. We're going to budget an additional $800,000 for substitute employee cost increasing. And so what our cost has increased since 2024 is about $3.4 million. So that $3.4 million has come from other areas of the budget in order for us to pay the cost of those, the increasing costs around substitute employee costs. Our employee benefit costs are expected to increase, and this is really a utilization thing of the benefit program. So we expect that to increase by about $600,000. Now, recruitment challenges aren't necessarily a direct dollar budget pressure, but it does put pressure on the system around operations. So we identify that as a pressure in the coming year, same as student transportation. And then technology upgrades. We're in the process, and we may have to adjust this number. We may not need it at all. We're just in the process of looking at what does the complete refresh of all of our end user equipment look like over the summer this year, and if additional resources are required.
Just before you go to the next slide, pardon me, I will remind trustees, I'm sorry, that you don't need to look too far to see some of your colleagues in neighboring districts where these pressures are becoming increasingly intense. And so reduced programming, specialty programs, et cetera, are things that we're seeing happening elsewhere. And so it will be important for us as we go forward to be very mindful of this. And in a moment, Secretary Treasurer is going to share with you the risks, which are sometimes the unforeseen. So they're the ones we can predict, and then there are the ones that you can't always predict.
So the other thing I would want to say about the $5 million in costs that are the pressures that we see in the budget for the coming year, having some accumulated surplus in order to balance the reductions that we have to have in the budget will help us not have to make a $5 million reduction all in 1 year. So I just will say that that's kind of the purpose of some of the surplus funds that we have, is to help unanticipated costs that we have, help fund them over some period of time, and hopefully the costs related to substitute employees are a moment in time cost that they've increased, but maybe they'll go back to what has been sort of a traditional amount, and we're back to sort of some sense of normal financial salary estimates in that area. So I want to touch on some of the risks. Obviously, any unplanned enrollment changes, so up or down. We don't have a lot of space in our schools, so increasing enrollments presents as much a challenge as decreasing enrollments for us. Having to move a portable, for example, would cost $50,000 or $60,000. That is would have to come out of our cost for the current budget year. International enrollment fluctuations, even beyond what we estimate, will pose a significant problem for us. We saw that during COVID when those enrollments decreased a lot and the impacts in our budgets. Again, I think the economic uncertainty that we have is a big problem, and it's going to cause our funder, the province, to put measures in place. And like I say, the $1.5 billion of expenditure management, they're going to have to find funding someplace to deal with the potential for these economic uncertain times that are ahead. Technology security risks. You don't go too many weeks without hearing about a school district in North America that has been subject of a cybersecurity breach. We've invested in that. I would say to the board that you've done some good work in investing in our overall technology infrastructure, but building an infrastructure that is pretty robust, and we have a pretty good security posture when it comes to managing cybersecurity risks. And then finally, one of our biggest risks is around these increasing employee absence costs. And like I say, I see across the province the budget pressures that school districts are facing that as a result of this area. And I think it's just something we're going to have to really monitor closely and work on and try to find ways to address. So there's a number of engagement opportunities coming up. We have Thursday night is our a public information meeting. I did share some information with Deepak already around the budget. We will be consulting with our Indigenous Education Council in the next month or so, and then also having stakeholder meetings, extended invitations to our employee unions for us to come and share some budget information and have the opportunity to discuss what we're seeing in terms of the budget. And then some timelines. Obviously, I mentioned already, we get the grant announcement on Thursday this week, and the intention is to have this budget completed and for the board's approval at the June board meeting. I think that's all.
Great. So, as always, thank you, Secretary Treasurer Velisuk, for bringing reality home. For bringing this information to our attention. I do, before I turn it to questions to the board, just remind the public, all of you that are all listening, this Thursday at 6 o'clock here in the board office or online, you can come and join us for the budget meeting. And by then we should know our allocation. Not sure how much of that'll be readily available that evening, but there will be some. So, table. Trustee Rout.
Thank you. Good presentation, Ray. Appreciate that. A couple of questions. First thing, sort of top of mind, is a question on sort of how the financial uncertainty for the provinces might roll out, and you touched on that a little bit in the risks. I just looked up. We have a debt of $107 billion, a deficit of $10 billion a year. So you sort of, and then the tariff exposure now that we might have. I mean, do you have a sense? Is there anyone talking about sort of how the government's going to spend money on big ticket items like healthcare and education?
Yeah, I think when you see the budget, the government appears committed to those things. But as those deficits keep growing and the provincial debt grows, the bigger part of the annual budget becomes interest on that debt.
Right.
And so instead of being the fourth or fifth biggest expenditure that you have, pretty soon as that interest on the debt becomes one of your major budget line items, that becomes a bigger problem for for governments to deal with.
Okay, so we haven't really heard anything, though. There's no plan out there. Okay. My second question was with regard to substitutes. What do TOCs fall under substitutes, or is that a separate category? I was just curious.
It's any substitute employee in the classification on the financial information is it could be a substitute custodian, it could be a substitute bus driver, it could be a substitute teacher. Anybody who's replacing an existing worker in one of the other categories above gets classified as a substitute.
And is a TOC one of
Yes.
those two? Okay. Because I know it works for us to have a lot of TOCs come back and help us out, right? Because we have staffing shortages and so on. And okay, that's good information. And then the only other question I had was on page 5 here. We had a line item that was 14 million for K-12 literacy supports, and I know that's our number one priority. So I just wondered if you had any other expansion you could provide on that.
So that is a $14 million reduction, and it was a known reduction. It's for last year in the current year was for professional development. Okay. It was a one-time budget allocation, so it's just not in the budget going forward. But it was only intended as a one-time budget allocation to begin with.
Okay, great.
So it's not really a reduction.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It was there last year.
$14 million put in last year, but it was only intended to be in there for 1 year. So now the 14 million isn't staying and going to something else. It's coming out.
Yeah, but that investment last year, in theory, should pay off for years to come because of that good training. I hope.
One of the other things that I forgot to mention was that in the provincial budget, the province estimates that student enrollment is going to drop by about 3,500 students this coming year. So it's back to, we haven't had enrollment decline for quite a while in British Columbia. So it's with that enrollment decline, one of the things we didn't see is a decrease in the block funding. So maybe I'm quite hopeful that we'd maybe see sort of some of the inflationary pressure maybe get recognized in a bump in the operating grant per student rate, but don't hold your breath for that. But
okay, thank you. And just in case someone hasn't mentioned it yet, the public information budget meeting is on Thursday. So
right.
I know we've all mentioned that was a joke.
Anyone else? Trustee Kandaraj, we could see you if you raised your hand now, but nothing. Okay, thank you. And again, thank you, Ray, for the Secretary Treasurer Velisuk. Thank you for bringing this all to our attention. The next item on the agenda I will speak to. Before you have a motion to approve the request from Skills Canada for our luncheon sponsorship for the amount of $2,500. The past 3 years, perhaps new trustees are not aware, but we actually did it for a 3-year cycle. And it sort of fell off the radar until about a month ago. And they came back and said, wait, you've been our lunch sponsor. So they've invited us to participate again for the amount of, it's actually a steal, for $2,500. That includes, so we were considered the host of the luncheon, as well as we get a speaking opportunity, and we, of course, we have a certain number of us that attend at a table for the lunch. So is there a mover and an appetite for this? Pardon the pun.
Move to approve with comment.
With comment, are you a second? Yes, okay, comment?
Our district has done an amazing job of supporting the trades, and that continues to grow. I think this is another way to show our support.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to it, please, before I go to Trustee Ryan?
Sure, yeah. I just echo what Trustee Peterson said. It's been a great event, and I fully support the initiative, yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Ryan?
Just echoing the same thing. Why is it not for 3 years this time?
I'm not even sure that last time was a request for 3 years.
I think last time was 3 years, or it was once it was for 3 years.
We said we would do it for 3 years at this table and offered them that.
Yeah, so why not offer the same? Because it is such a good space for our kids to go, not our kids, but the school
to have a
students.
presence.
Yeah, I think all grade 10s goes there.
I mean,
yeah, so it's an amazing opportunity for us. So why are, yeah, I'm okay to approve it next year as well, but if the opportunity is there, approve it for 3 years. Maybe next year we can bring it for 3 years.
We could, I look to the mover.
Sure, yeah, let's add that.
So for 3
we'd
consecutive
look-
years?
Yeah, we would look for a 3-year commitment to it, yes.
Thank you. Does the seconder agree?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see why we wouldn't just approve it every year. You know, things change each year, but, and I'm in full support of it, but I'd favor just approving it each year because, you know, otherwise we're extending it into the next board that's elected and.
We could just ask them how about next time to ask us for 3 years.
So we can.
Why don't we keep it very informal, approve it for this year and have discussions around our continued support.
Okay, and I can certainly relay that message when I respond to the writer of the request.
Good, thank you.
Trustee Kandarajwan, is that good with you? I see a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, so trustees Rye, Peterson, and Roque, if you could vote, please. Fantastic. I'll advise them this evening or tomorrow. So that concludes the regular business of our agenda. There are no committee reports, so now we move, or representatives on external organizations. At this time, we have a piece of new business. We have a notice of motion that has been provided. It is attached to the agenda. It was added at the start of this meeting. And I would invite Trustee Roque. I will remind everyone that this is a notice of motion. There is no debate, no questions. There is no mover. There is just a motion, notice provided that this will come forward to the April meeting. Trustee Roque.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. Yeah, I just wanted to put this on the table for the next meeting. As you all saw in our updated strategic plan, our number 2 priority is parent and community engagement. I think this falls under that category. So yeah, it's a motion to amend Policy 6, Appendix 1. I'll just read it out here just in case anyone doesn't have the text in front of them. Whereas transparency and accountability are fundamental principles of good governance, and whereas the current policy requires strict confidentiality of all code of ethics proceedings, limiting the ability of the affected trustee to publicly respond to allegations, and whereas an accused trustee should have the right to request a public hearing if they choose, provided it does not contravene with privacy laws or other legal obligations, and whereas a trustee subject to a code of ethics hearing should have the ability to publicly disclose details of the proceedings after the hearing has concluded, unless such disclosure would violate legal or privacy obligations. Be it resolved that Policy 6, Appendix 1 be amended to include the following provisions, and there's 2 of them. Number 1, the respondent trustee shall have the option to waive confidentiality and request that their code of ethics hearing be conducted in a public forum. This request be made in writing and will be granted unless legal or privacy considerations prevent public disclosure. In cases where full public disclosure is not possible, the board shall provide a summary of the findings while protecting sensitive information as required by law. And number 2, following the conclusion of a code of ethics hearing, the respondent trustee shall have the right to publicly disclose details of the proceedings, including their own defense and any other board rulings, unless such disclosure would contravene the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act or other applicable laws.
Thank you. That will come forward to the April meeting. I just, without adding any other commentary, straight question for you, Trustee Kandarajwan. Were you able to hear? Okay. All right.
Thumbs up.
Thank you. Okay. At this point, we now move into trustee announcements, which includes a list that is here for February and March. There's a number of them. And would anyone like to speak to, a couple of these have not actually happened yet, I don't think. Is that right? Anyways, would anyone like to speak to them?
I will.
Trustee Rai.
Just lots of amazing stuff going on in the community. I would just like to speak to the Fraser Valley Cultural Diversity Awards. We, as a school district, do present an award there, but the main award of Diversity Person of the Year was actually one of our helping teachers, Ashlyn Singh. So a lot of congratulations to her, but also well done to the school district.
Right. Thank you. Trustee Roque?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I thought our last district planning team meeting was really great with a focus on careers. I just thought that was really refreshing and a great subject matter. So just kudos to the group that put it on.
Anyone else? Okay. So now I move into the part of the agenda where we have a question period for a maximum of 10 minutes. Secretary Treasurer Velistuk, do we have questions?
No.
We have no questions from the public. Would you like to ask any questions? Actually, Joanne, if you could come to the front, state your name and your affiliation, that would be fantastic. She's thinking. There are no questions from the gallery. So with that, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for all the things, and the board will